The strangest thing that I could possibly say, things that you would never have thought you would say, not to say 10 years ago, because 10 years ago you wouldn't have even thought to say it. 5 years, 3 years, a year. Would you have ever imagined a world where not only is Kevin Owens, but AJ Styles also a WWE World Champion?
AJ fucking Styles. I have not been this excited in the direction of professional wrestling in a very long time. Just look at your champions right now. Even NXT with Shinsuke. I mean,
Yep.
it's just things
Shinsuke
are going
and
in the right. I mean, things are really looking up. I mean, they're making the right changes, and it just shows you they're listening. They're always fucking listening. You just have to let them do their thing.
Yeah, it's nice when they, acknowledge that they're listening to you. It's always nice to be acknowledged, because sometimes you feel like, in the reign of terror that John Cena had all those years ago, you felt like they weren't listening necessarily to a certain subset of the audience. They were listening to the younger folks. And while they're still, they have a, PG-ish product now, they're still appealing more to adults. They're appealing more to the hardcore fan than the casual fan. I think they realized that all those years that they neglected the hardcore fans, that those hardcore fans were finding other outlets, which is why guys like AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, etc., Seth Rollins, whomever you want to talk about from Japan or the Indies or whatever, blew up. The reason they blew up was WWE didn't have an outlet for them, and there were outlets in other places. So now they realize that it doesn't have to be an adversarial relationship between them and the independents as it used to be, and it can be more of a symbiotic relationship, and even letting guys go off and do other things, and then come back, like Cody Rhodes might, or other people have gone, and like Chris Jericho will work, autograph signings and this and that, and go off and do his band and whatever, and then he'll come back. They used to be really down on people doing outside projects, so now it just seems like the attitude has changed. There was an attitude adjustment, should we say, in the last, 6-8 months?
It's really true, though. I mean, if you think about it, since Shane McMahon came back, and it's not to say it's because of Shane McMahon coming back, obviously, but he's got influence back in behind the scenes, and I think that's making a big difference. I really do. I think they're all doing a great job right now. I think Vince, as much as he will always have the final say, I think is giving them more of an opportunity to do their thing because it's working.
Right.
Vince McMahon didn't think NXT was going to be what it is today. This is the same fucking guy that had no idea about Festus being Gallows.
I love that. I really love that.
It's hilarious. But, it's just, they're giving them more of the opportunity. And I mean, look what they're doing.
I'd love to hear that conversation where it's like, I'm really glad we hired that tall, bald guy. What's his face? You mean the guy who used to be Festus? Festus? The retard with the bell? Yes. You sure? Yeah. No. He's just like, I bet you he still doesn't believe it. He's going to go back and watch tape, and he's going to be like, no, that's a different guy. It's got to be a different guy.
You know what, though? It doesn't surprise me, because even back in the day, like the whole joke about Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, he had no idea that Razor Ramon character was based off of Scarface.
Right, it was a ripoff, a total ripoff. So that's great, and it's little things like that. Also, I've brought it up multiple times on this podcast. Pirate Paul Burchill was over, and then Vince was like, "Fuck this pirate thing. Who likes pirates?" When Pirates of the Caribbean was like the hottest movie of the year.
Yeah.
Totally blanked. Like, he struck out on that. That's a rare swing and a miss. Aside from the fact that Paul Burchill was a great wrestler, and I think he should probably still be with the WWE.
Well,
You guys might disagree. I love Paul Burchill. I was a
Oh,
big
I
Paul.
do too.
I wasn't the biggest fan, but so check it out before we
Oh yes, before we get too deep.
get too deep. So, as people are aware, Tag Me a Date has had their fair share of issues as of late with the website. Bottom line, the new tagmeadate.com, bigger and better, will be coming very soon. We are about to start a complete revamp of the website from start to finish. It will be more user friendly. It will give you more things to do. We will have a brand new alert system. It will notify you when somebody's checked out your profile. It will alert you when you have a message. The messaging system will be better. The look and feel will be better all around. It's going to be the new tagmeadate.com, and Apple and Android apps to come after that. So stay tuned. We got big things
Very exciting. Oh, I'm very glad that to hear that the website is being overhauled. I know I annoyed the crap out of you a lot with little nitpicks and things and screenshots and things you could do, and but it's nice to know that you're taking some positive steps here, and I look at it on a Mac, and I know sometimes Macs look at the stuff differently. I'm just glad that it's it's all coming together, because you have a good base here. The whole thing is you got a good base of users and the concept and the things that you want to do. So now,
yeah, I mean,
I'm
really,
looking forward to
it's just going to come down to when I can gather enough money to get it started. But
Right.
That's the main thing, because doing it solo has its challenges. But,
Exactly.
But we'll get there.
Well, now that's actually a nice segue to a song that I wanted to at least make people aware of, because it's not just a little sound clip; it's actually a full song. This is I won't say what the song is. I'll just let it play, and you'll know you'll know what the song is, and I'll explain what it is afterwards. So. I'm done lying to myself. All this, all the wonder and believing that it's making me weak. I'll fade away and classify myself as obsolete. My skin's dying because you're under it. I'm done lying to myself. All this, all the wonder and believing that it's making me weak. I'll fade away and classify myself as obsolete. That's Jeff Hardy's band, Peroxygen, or Peroxygen, however they pronounce it. And that's the song Obsolete. And it's not to say that Jeff Hardy's other stuff wasn't good, it was just a little weird and avant-garde and out there, kind of very synthy Billy Corgan kind of stuff. This song is like it reminds me of the Killers, if you give it a listen, and it's very, very good. So and of course it carries along the obsolete chant that is very popular. Spoiler alert, there's another great segment coming up that Matt showed us on his iPhone over the weekend. I love that I get little spoilers for what's happening on Impact now. It's awesome. They did the Senior Benjamin thing, and the scene that I saw, which we'll talk about next week once I can talk about it.
I heard it's like finding Senior Benjamin or something.
It's the search for Senior Benjamin, and he also has to find. If you remember, Vanguard 1 got spit at by Rosemary. She hit the drone with the spit last week. So now he has to find Vanguard 1 as well. And did you guys see that last week, Delete or Decay?
It ended Impact.
Yeah, it was. I like that where she spit the green mist, and then Matt Hardy sucked it in, and then spit it back out, and Joseph Park coming out of the water instead of Abyss.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Which is a callback to when Willow jumped out of the water when Jeff Hardy went in, because the water now apparently has magical properties. of changing people. I love this. Love this.
It almost makes me want to start watching Impact again.
You don't like. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people don't get that pop TV, and I think I might. I
get it. I get it. I just stopped watching because the product sucked.
Yeah, and it's you got.
It's one of the few things that I do like about Impact.
You got Mike Bennett and you got the Hardys.
Yeah, I like Mike Bennett. Yeah.
And Decay. You know, I appreciate that there's a guy out there whose name is Crazy Steve. That says everything you need to know about Crazy Steve in, 3-4 syllables. Crazy Steve, 3 syllables. That's it. You know he's crazy.
By the way.
What?
2 Z's in his name.
2 Z's, yes. Which is why when I read it,
he's really crazy.
Right? If you misspelled it, shit, he's so crazy he turned off autocorrect. I call him Crazy Steve when I read it, like if I'm reading text and I see it, I pronounce it in my head as Crazy Steve. But I love the gimmick. He's just like it's like Steve the Pirate, it's Crazy Steve. He's just a guy. Deleted Decay was a storyline, not a match, and I've heard some big. You want to talk about big things? Not only are there big things for Tag Me a Date, there are big things coming from the fine folks that brought you the final deletion. Oh man, I have heard some wonderful, awesome news, and once it becomes live, I don't want to spoil anything on our podcast, but once it becomes live and I can speak on it, I'm gonna be very excited.
Let me speak on this.
Yeah. Oh, listen, these guys. Okay, what they're doing is, Billy Corgan is in charge now. Dixie's gone. Billy has, is a creative mind himself. He's run a wrestling promotion before, and he's a very successful musician. He and the Hardys and Jeremy Borash have an understanding, and Big John, they have an understanding that the Hardys and Jeremy Borash have control over this storyline, meaning that all of the segments that you see filmed in North Carolina are actually filmed in North Carolina with Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy and their friends and family, and Jeremy Borash is directing it, and Jeremy Borash has about 5 drones that he uses. So they film this all with, like HD handy cams or whatever, and the drones, and they put it all together. They do all the effects, all the color correction, whatever the hell else you want to call it. They do it top to bottom, and then they send it over to TNA, and TNA airs it. That's how much trust they have in these guys, that they air it. They just say, you know what, do your thing. And the Hardys are very, to hear them talk, it's a breath of fresh air. They're very, very appreciative of the opportunity. They love just being able to do what they want and express themselves, because Matt, when I talked to him about this, he says that his goal is to elevate the art form and to take it and turn it into something that it hasn't been before, and make it something that's relevant enough where people who are not wrestling fans or are lapsed wrestling fans that haven't watched since the Attitude Era or haven't watched since, whoever quit or whoever retired or somebody got injured and I stopped watching or whatever the excuse is, he wants to get people who aren't wrestling fans their eyes on the product, instead of just perpetuating and trying to get more of the same. There's only so many wrestling fans that you can attract. The pool is only so big. You have to go outside that pool to gain new eyes, and that is his ultimate goal.
See, the wrestlers that last the longest are the ones that keep reinventing themselves, and that's exactly what Matt Hardy and Jeff, to an extent, has done.
Yeah, Jeff. See, the thing is right, and some guys, you have a gimmick that never changes, like Ricky Steamboat, because it just works. Jeff Hardy, he was just Jeff Hardy, and it worked. When he needed to, you're right. He had Willow. He's got the new obsolete character thing. Like, he's got other little ways that he tweaks his character. But he really has stayed pretty consistent. Matt, on the other hand, had to make a lot of changes as he went through his career to stay.
Yeah, even back to the version 1 gimmick,
Right, because remember he had to lose weight to compete as a cruiserweight and all that other stuff.
That was.
Oh, the Matt facts. He brought the Matt facts back, kind of. He touched on them in the dinner with him and Rebecca and King Maxwell.
The Matt facts were great.
Yeah, and he even said, he said something about he hated mustard. He brought it up again a couple weeks, like a month ago. He's like, he hated mustard. It was like, excellent.
I can't wait till he brings up that he got more Halloween candy than Jeff. That was one of them.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
I want to go back to AJ Styles for a second.
Yes, because let's talk about this pay-per-view, which is the big news of the weekend.
I just wanted to mention that this makes AJ Styles only the second person in history to win both the NWA and WWE World titles, only after Ric Flair.
Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was awarded the NWA title.
Oh, well, actually third. You're right.
But he was awarded the WWF title and lost to Bruno. So,
but he was still champion.
He was still champion, but it was
Buddy Rogers, Ric Flair, AJ Styles. Look at that list.
Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, Nature Boy Ric Flair, and at one time, called the next Nature Boy, AJ Styles. You remember that when he was with?
Which, I'm sorry, it did not work at all.
That didn't work. No, it didn't work. But they've all had the nickname the Nature Boy at one time or another.
I feel like another face turn is coming for AJ eventually.
Well, he has to establish himself right now as the face that runs the place. He has to get this heel run in to show people how good he is, because that's the thing about heels is like you don't like them, and then the reason you start to like them is that they're so fucking good. They're so like Chris Jericho. You hate him and you boo him, and then he comes out, like you boo him for a little while and then you start to cheer him, and then he goes away for a little while, and then he'll come out and not talk during a promo and smile and wave and leave, and then he'll do it 3 weeks in a row and you're like, fuck this guy, this is the most boring shit in the world and all this, whatever, and then he comes out and does something else and he just gets you back again. That he's able to do on and off, like back and forth. It's amazing. But that's the good thing about a heel, is you establish yourself as the workhorse, because you dictate the pace of the match as the heel. You are dictating when the high spots are and when the rest holds are, or at least when you call a match. It's traditional that the heel calls the match. And listen,
Kevin Owens too.
Kevin Owens is fantastic.
That heel that you almost want to cheer, but you don't, because he's
because he does cool stuff, but then he's a dick about it. Like, he'll do a cool move, but he won't celebrate the same way like a babyface will. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different kind of. He just presents himself in a different way that's so unique now. Because everybody kind of wants to do the cool move and get cheered, even if they're the heel. They still want to get cheered doing the cool move. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, that's the best part of the best heels. Truly don't care, or at least put off that they truly don't care, because there are always some guys, and you'll know that they'll stall out in the mid card because they want to do cool moves and get cheered for it, but they also want to be the bad guy, and you can't have it both ways. The moves you do, the fans have to go. They have to be mad that you're that good. You have to be, shit, I wish he sucked so I could have a reason to hate him, aside from the fact that I just hate him. Like, he doesn't, Kevin Owens doesn't suck. That's why there's no real, you don't have a legitimate criticism for Kevin Owens, aside from the fact that, well, shit, he's an asshole. That is the reason you dislike him. It's not that he's a bad wrestler or a boring wrestler or a bad talker or a boring talker or whatever else you want to call him. He has it all, because he has the skill to carry a match, and you still hate him for it.
Right.
This diet root beer at room temperature, never tasted that.
But Backlash though.
Backlash was a good pay-per-view.
That was a good pay-per-view.
Some good stuff.
Not just because I actually did well in the pick'ems this month, but because it was top to bottom was a very well wrestled pay-per-view. Even the Usos. Good job, gold star to the Usos.
I like the heel. Like, they're doing a good job already.
How much more credible are they now that they're heel again? Right?
So they don't have the fucking face paint and the goofy shit and the dabbing and the like. You look at them, and you're like, you're dads. Dads don't dab. That should be a saying. You know, dads don't dab unless you're like Steve Smith Sr. in the NFL. Then you're allowed to dab. But you know, you're like almost 40. What are you doing out there? The robot and the breakdance and the dabbing and the face paint. Come on now.
Whereas I'm glad that Naomi is back to being a face because I thought she was a terrible heel.
Yeah.
All the stuff she was doing was like face stuff. Like it didn't make
I hate
any
to be
sense
this
for
guy
her.
again. Is Naomi the one with the light up sneakers?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no, I like her.
And I like the entrance now too. It's pretty cool with the hair and like the black lights. I mean, it's just it's working
It
out
just
well.
works with her.
You have to do something different, and I appreciate that. Is she the one that does the rear view?
Yeah.
Oh, I like. You know what? It's supposed to be like a crappy, like a girly
But I mean,
finish
no,
or
it's
whatever.
not. That's not a heel.
No, it's definitely not a heel move.
Action. So.
I think that's a big babyface finisher. You're right, Eric, and I think she does work better that way. And I just you want to cheer for her. She seems like a nice person.
And speaking of finishers, what about Seth Rollins? Like, what does he? If he's face now, there's no way he's going to be doing the pedigree anymore.
He's going to use the pedigree up until he faces Triple H. Because he's going to have to hit the pedigree on Triple H, and Triple H is going to kick out of it, and then he's going to have to find something else that works. I don't know what, though. Because you can't do the curb stomp anymore.
Maybe he's coming up with something different.
That's what I'm thinking. He might have a new finisher.
He'll pull out the Phoenix Splash like every once in a while, but that's not something you should do all the time.
No, he should have, like, I don't know, not like a Tiger Driver, but you know what I mean? Like, something that you can hit that looks good, that's relatively safe, but still has an impact. I don't know, but I don't know for his body type, because here's the other thing. It has to be easily put on people of multiple body types. Like,
that's why something like the pedigree works for, like, everybody.
or the pedigree, the RKO, the leg drop, the elbow drop, the sweet chin music stunner, anything like that it works if it's Hornswoggle or if it's Big Show. Some finishers don't work that way. They take too long to set up, or they're so dangerous you can't hit them on the concrete or on the outside of the ring or backstage. Like the RKO, you can pretty much hit anywhere, and it'll be safe. And the pedigree, as long as you get your hands down, you're fine. But there are just some moves that, some guys never do their finisher on the outside or even attempt their finisher on the outside because you can't hit it. It would just kill it.
Here's an example. Like Alexa Bliss. She does that. She's too small of a person to be doing that choke down move that she does, That doesn't make any sense for her. I like the flips and stuff.
Love the Harley Quinn look, by the way.
Oh, yeah. How hot was she? God damn.
See, somebody said that night. Let me see. Alexa Bliss. I'm going to do Harley. Wow, it already autofills on Google. This is a popular image then.
Oh, she looked great.
Holy Jesus.
And every one of them wrestled. It was a.
That's not right.
That match. Right. That was a great way to.
But how about Becky Lynch?
Yes, I'm so happy for her.
We haven't mentioned, another champion, Becky Lynch. I mean, I'm so very happy for her.
It show they're really doing things right. I think they know they fucked up at WrestleMania. Yeah. They have to now, because either one of those other girls going over, aside from Charlotte, making a new champion and making a star at WrestleMania, that's what you're supposed to do. And they didn't do it, and they realized they fucked up. So now you're giving it to, and I hate to say this, a makeup, but Becky deserved that belt months ago. So this is a long, long overdue championship for her.
The fans wanted it, and and what's great is that you've got other established women's feuds within that whole circle.
Well,
like you got Nikki and Carmella, and separate from that.
Right.
Let me ask you a question though. Mm-hmm. So, are you guys saying that Becky should have had the title before Sasha?
I think either Becky or Sasha should have won at WrestleMania instead of Charlotte to make a new champion. At the time, I think it should have been Sasha because she was hot. But I think that any time after that, because they didn't go right away with Sasha when she was hot, Becky should have gotten it.
Okay, I agree with that.
Not necessarily WrestleMania, but maybe Extreme Rules or TLC or whatever the fuck. I don't even know what pay-per-views they do in between them anymore. But at one of those, if you're going to retain the champion's going to retain at WrestleMania. Give us a title change event, and pretty soon after they really dragged it out, and then they gave it to Sasha a little too late, a lot too late, and then she got that back injury. Like if theoretically, if the back injury was always going to happen in August, if she got the title in March, at least she would have had it from March to August instead of 2 weeks or whatever it was. Give it to her, I just think they should have gave it to her a lot earlier. And if they weren't going to pull the trigger on her then you have to, they should have went with Becky, because then the heat, people still like Sasha, but her heat kind of died down a little bit after she didn't win. That's wind out of your sails when you don't win at WrestleMania and the heel champion goes over like that. It kind of kills your heat a little bit. And then they cycled around to a fresh Becky Lynch who fell into the goddamn Ricky Steamboat trap. Every single person she befriended kicked the shit out of her later. And that doesn't do any good for her either. I mean, how many times can somebody go, oh yeah, I'm going to get a new tag team partner, and then get turned on before you realize maybe I should just go at this shit myself?
Right.
So they didn't do Becky any favors between WrestleMania and now. But now it's like Backlash. They said, okay, we're changing. This is the fucking day. We flipped the switch on Sunday, September 11, 2016, because there's a different. It just feels different. Who in what universe was long hair, looking like the Wendy's girl, Heath Slater, one-man rock band, member of the Nexus, ever going to be over, ever? And now he's one of the biggest fucking stars on SmackDown.
Him not being drafted was the best thing to happen to him.
Yeah, it ended up. I thought it was just going to be one of those kind of one-off things. Oh, he's a free agent, whatever. They'll have some laughs, and then he'll get signed to a contract. No, they built it into a Rocky story coming from nothing. I need this job. I got kids, man. That's a sentiment that a lot of people
like he
share.
got the runs before the match.
So what are you going to do now that you're the first ever tag team champion? Baby, we're getting a double wide.
Hey, we're getting a double wide. I love that. Because he even said, he's like, this is the greatest day of my life. And then I heard he's like, no, but really, seriously, this is the greatest day of my life. He had to stop and be like, no, this isn't part of what I'm planning to say. This is fucking great, guys. I'm very happy for him, because it looks like the years of being that guy on the roster finally paid off.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he's going to be world champion anytime soon, but I think he could be U.S. champion, Intercontinental champion, tag team champion a couple times.
And I love how Rhino was wearing the Vote for Rhino shirt.
Oh, yeah. There was a Michigan paper that actually published a story that says Michigan Republican candidate wins WWE Tag Team Championships. And they presented it like a fucking news story. It's great.
That's hilarious.
And I like Rhino. Rhino's another one of those guys that found the fucking fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks great. I'm a big fan of Rhino.
He hasn't aged. And he's doing all this while running for political office. So, I mean, Jesus.
That's impressive, yeah.
So Alberto, since I'm staring at an old calendar from May of 2015, which tells you how long it takes me to change my physical calendars, because who has paper calendars anymore?
Who cares?
Right? I've got Alberto Del Rio's picture on this old calendar. Alberto is no more.
Who cares?
Which tells me that Alberto El Patron will be appearing at Northeast Wrestling sometime soon. I just have a hunch.
And the one disappointing factor in this whole thing is that we're probably going to lose Paige.
Yeah.
Did you see that fucking tattoo she got, bro?
Yeah, what the hell is that, dude? Seriously?
Somebody put up a picture of that and then put up a picture of The Undertaker with one of those Sarah tattoos. Like, yeah, you'll never regret that one.
I mean, that's her. And, I don't know. I think it's ridiculous that she's going to potentially give up her career. I mean.
Yeah, she shouldn't have to give up her career, for that.
I mean,
for anything, for any kind of relationship, that to me, that really smacks of like human resource violations or human resources lawsuits and shit. If they have any documented proof that somebody from that organization said, and I hate to get all insurance-y guy and degree in interpersonal communications-y guy on you, but kind of falls in my wheelhouse here. If there's any documented proof, whether it's an email, a text message, video or audio recording of somebody higher up in the organization confirming this, not a hearsay, I heard John Laurinaitis say this or I heard somebody say this, but if they had an audio recorder or something on them and one of the executives said, yeah, you got to break up with him or we're going to fire you, that's lawsuit city. If there's any way that she or Alberto can prove that they were trying to get them to break up by threatening their their job, lawsuit upon lawsuit.
It's true.
So you'd hope they covered their asses, they cover themselves well. The WWE, that is, if they're in fact, none of this is confirmed. Can't speak to this as if it's fact.
This is all just us shooting the shit. So
that's right, of course.
Take it for what it is. But yeah, so a home run for SmackDown, Backlash overall, and then AJ winning the title. I mean, every match was good. The storytelling was good. The booking was good. Everything was just, well done. And then we get to Raw, and Raw had some good moments, but overall, I mean, it was 3 hours. So yeah, it was long.
I don't watch it on real time. I can't. I DVR, and it's impossible to watch it live.
With social media, now, I try to watch everything on time. Otherwise I'm going to know about everything before I get to watch it. So I try to, But here's my thing too. Raw opened with a great segment with the women. And then it wound up turning into a triple threat. Sasha, Bayley, and Dana Brooks. Winner faces Charlotte for the title at Night of Champions. So it was kind of cool to see Sasha and Bayley again. And it was a good match. And, of course, Sasha pulled it out. So
right.
But, yeah, Raw was Enzo, and Chaos had a great spot. They lost again. But, and one thing before you guys dive into Raw, too. So what's the logic with Bray losing again?
It's frustrating, I know he didn't lose clean or anything, but still, how credible can he be anymore if he keeps losing?
Well, I mean, he'll always be credible because to me anyway, because he's Bray Wyatt, and But I see what you're saying. The guy's got to fucking win a feud at some point.
Yeah, and maybe with
somewhat convincingly too.
Yeah, they said that Randy Orton wasn't medically cleared because he had a concussion, but then Randy Orton wrestled last night on a house show. So who fucking knows if he actually is? I don't think he's probably medically cleared, and that was just a fucking work or whatever.
Okay, let me pitch this to you.
But why would, as a work, why would you want to pull Orton from your pay-per-view? The guy that just came back. You know what I'm saying? To me, that doesn't make sense.
I think maybe just to give it one more pay-per-view. You got to think Randy Orton's going over. Do you want to have Bray Wyatt lose and then that's it? Maybe stretch it out another. Maybe he costs Bray. They meet up. Bray beats him the first match, and then they come around for a third time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Picture this, it's WrestleMania, the main event next year. AJ Styles defending against Bray Wyatt for the title. How awesome would that be?
Well, yeah, that would be absolutely great, but, is anybody gonna... I've seen Bray Wyatt compete at WrestleMania live. I know how it goes. It doesn't go well for him.
Yeah, but the entrance is good.
Oh, the entrance is fantastic. Dude, WrestleMania 30, that was the best entrance ever. And you give that guy a great entrance, and it's just you're just gonna job out clean John Cena. Still mad about that. But Raw. Now, what are our thoughts here? Is Raw behind SmackDown in some
You
way?
know, I don't think we really know that until Clash of Champions, and then we'll know. You know,
I mean, I got to tell you, for the most part, I'm finding SmackDown more entertaining personally. But
I agree.
But I think a lot of that too is because it's 2 hours. It's not 3.
Right.
That
Well,
last hour kills me.
Someone put it that hey, what's up, Ryan?
how's it going?
Someone put it that SmackDown is the wrestling show for people who like wrestling, and Raw is the show for people who like watching the backstage storyline bullshit.
Wasn't that how it was at the start of the first brand split?
And I think they're coming around to that. Which is fine, because Raw is the one that the most probably kids and families watch on a Monday night. So maybe you do want it a little more storyline driven and less. Maybe the kids get less excited during the matches and tune out, and they want to hear more dialogue. I really don't know, because like when I was a kid, yes, the promos were fun, but I wanted to see fucking somebody get slammed into a dumpster. That was my shit. I wanted to see a table match. I wasn't tuning in going, oh man, there's gonna be a great 20-minute Triple H talking segment. You wanted to see somebody get their ass kicked. That was the whole point of watching wrestling. So I just don't understand the change, the philosophical change.
I'm sure they have a focus group or two.
Oh yeah, definitely.
but okay. Let me ask this then: if Raw ever went back to the 2-hour format, do you think it should be from 9 to 11, or do you think it should be from 8 to 10?
I think it should be 8 to 10.
Yeah, do 8 to 10. 9
I
to
think
11.
they'd keep it 9 to 11 though.
9 to 11 was to appease, because they pushed it farther back so they could get away with more stuff.
Right, but you can even start that at 9 o'clock. You still have an hour to get the raunchy shit.
Right, like 10 to 11 is still going to be your watershed hour. But maybe they don't want it. I guess it depends on their direction. If they don't want to do anything that would violate that watershed rule,
Yeah.
then they're fine. They could do 8 to 10, no problem. But if they do want to use that last hour for something that's a little more risque, then they should probably go back to 9 to 11. Fuck it. Put the first hour of Raw on the network, so it's optional.
I mean, yeah,
How do you
but
make it optional though?
Yeah,
but not optional, but make the pre-show an hour, but put good matches and stories on it instead of like bullshit. Make the pre-show on the network something that people would like to watch and will be entertaining if they watch it, but ultimately not have as much of an effect. Or maybe you have something that carries over from the last 2 or 3 minutes of the pre-show, and you gotta go, and you go, oh my god, it's bedlam, it's mayhem, tune into Raw, blah, 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 and then they have to tune into Raw to see what the fuck happened. I don't know.
Kind of like Sunday Night Heat for the pay-per-views.
Right? Yeah, but because I'm thinking like 3 hours is a lot, but they want to have as much programming on as possible because it's advertising dollars and this and that. So maybe there's another way to monetize that.
How long is also the contract with the USA might dictate how many episodes.
USA loves. It's really USA that's doing this. USA loves the 3 hours because it's an easy sell for whatever advertisers are looking for.
But this is one of the reasons that I didn't want a brand split, because they were having a hard enough time keeping Raw entertaining with all the roster. Now it's only half, and it's
Well, yeah.
There's a way to do it. It's just very difficult to fill the 3.
You would need segments like the final deletion or delete
So I
and decay.
think it's going to be helped once the Cruiserweight Classic's over.
Yeah, if they could focus that first hour on like they used to do with Thunder, that first hour is the Cruiserweight hour or something like that. Fuck, everybody talks shit about Thunder. I loved Thunder. I was the biggest Thunder fan.
Were you?
Oh, Thursday night, if I can finish your homework and watch some wrestling, there was nothing. What the fuck are you gonna do on a Thursday night? There's nothing to do. Turn on Thunder. Watch it once and then wait until 11:05 and it was on again.
That's hilarious,
dude. I do that with Nitro and Thunder if I could stay out because I was young. But if I could make it, I would try and watch a replay.
Thunder, not to be confused with Thunder in Paradise.
I was
Not to be
thinking
yeah,
about.
exactly.
I was sitting on that joke.
And that was the whole reason Hulk even went to WCW.
Yeah, they
That
were
was-
filming it.
Right, was it at Universal?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were filming WCW at Universal, and everybody kept asking the WCW people, when the fuck you gonna sign Hulk Hogan? There you go.
Yep. Sting helped, and rest is history, right?
That's right. Oh, let me talk about something. You guys might be getting a laugh out of this, and I understand if you do, because some people don't like him. CM Punk definitely lost his first fight.
He got his
in
ass
UFC.
whooped.
He did, absolutely, and the one thing the couple of things that I do want to say is he gave a very nice speech afterward. He was very gracious in defeat.
He was.
He was very emotional during his press conference. You could tell it meant a lot to him. He did, he went in thinking he was going to win, and maybe he went in. Maybe the guys at the gym talked him up a little too much.
Well, you gotta have that attitude, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
you could just tell it really meant a lot to him to even just compete and be there, which is great to
something
see.
he wanted to do.
He did
won or
lose,
lost,
though. But if we're going to put a positive spin on this, he lasted twice as long as Mickey Gall's other two opponents in the UFC. The other two guys he finished in about 1 minute and 10 seconds. His fight went 2:15. So he went twice as long. So basically what we're saying is he's twice as good as the guys that the other guy lost to. The other guy beat. But not as good as this guy because Mickey Gall's a fucking stud. He's one of those guys, him and Mike Perry, who's a new guy, 6-0, and this guy's 3-0 over his professional career, 4-0 if you include his outside fights, I think. He's a stud. He's 22 or something like that. He's going to be a future champion for sure, and maybe not the best tune-up fight for a guy like CM Punk who hasn't had the pedigree of that.
UFC probably wasn't the best idea for a.
Well, no,
tune-up
but
fight.
UFC saw dollar signs. Listen, CM Punk.
Damon White's a businessman at the end of the day,
CM Punk made $500,000
agree.
in 2.5 minutes.
I agree with the money. It just, if this was CM Punk's end goal and he really wanted to do it, is that the best way to go about it?
No, Dana said that his next fight probably shouldn't be in the UFC, and
I saw that.
maybe it shouldn't, but here's the thing. The UFC owns another organization called Invicta that they use as a feeder league to the UFC. So if somebody does well in Invicta, like Cyborg, the female fighter Cyborg, not the male Cyborg who got his fucking skull caved in, but Cyborg from Brazil. They both are. Anyway, the female fighter from Brazil, Cyborg, she was in Invicta and just tore that ass up. She beat literally everybody in Invicta. They had to sign her to the UFC because she beat everybody. So maybe CM Punk gets a tune-up fight or two there. I could see him doing another fight in 6 or 8 months, maybe against a lower-level opponent, maybe in Invicta. I think CM Punk ultimately wants to come back to the UFC and have a fight and win. And I think he has the opportunity to win. I think he needs the experience, and I don't know if at 37 he has the time.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I gotta say, I give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of respect, the fact that he even stepped foot in the octagon. But at the end of the day, he wasn't ready. He got his ass handed to him.
He really, unfortunately,
but I will appreciate the fact that he still came out to cult of personality.
He's my favorite wrestler, and it takes absolute balls to do that. And I have nothing but respect for CM Punk.
I hate to bring this up too, but he technically lasted longer than Brock Lesnar did in his first match.
Yeah, everybody forgets this. Brock
against
Lesnar got
Frank
tapped
Mir.
out by a knee bar. This is first day of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class shit that he got tapped out on. And guess what? Then he came back and
There's
won
a
the world
huge
championship.
difference between Brock and Punk, though.
Oh, they're physically, yeah.
I'm not
Well, yeah, they're in
cut that
different
off by
categories as far as like
I'm
weight
not
classes.
talking
and
like
stuff.
physical. Like Brock, all he had to do was pick up some skills. CM Punk, I feels like has to learn a lot more than what Brock had to.
Well, yeah, because excuse me, he came out swinging on a guy who's the first 2 fucking fights he had, he fucking spine busted the guy and used jiu-jitsu to get on top and finish it with a fucking rear naked choke. Those were the last 2 fights that he had, and they lasted 75 seconds. What did he do? He came out, took him down, choked him out. This time it took an extra minute because CM Punk's a tough motherfucker, but he was still going to lose that fight because he came out with the wrong strategy.
And I don't think anyone was expecting Punk to come out on top at all.
There were a lot of people expecting him to
I
come out
wasn't
on top.
expecting it, but I wanted it to happen.
What do you think the reaction around the world would have been had he won?
Shock and awe. Yeah, I mean, because of the way that he lost, just thinking about how it could have been if he won it's you almost can't think about what the reaction would be, because it would probably be a lot of people who would be silent, like they wouldn't even believe it. He had to come out like that was just not a good strategy to rush that kid, because he wants you to rush him because he wants to shoot for the takedown. I don't know what his striking is like. I haven't seen a lot of his fights because guess what? He's only had 4 of them. So I've watched what I could from YouTube, and I see that he shoots for the takedown right away. If you prepare for that, somebody should have told this nigga to watch some YouTube and just prepare for the takedown. That's really all it is. If he stuffed... He came in and he put everything behind the jab and then across. He put in a 1-2. Like you said, I missed with the 2. He definitely missed because he threw an overhand right that just whiffed as the guy went in for the takedown. If he came in and didn't strike, if he just came in at that same pace and the guy shot for the takedown and he put his hands out and tried to stuff it, or sprawled and put his legs back and sprawled and stuffed it, it would be a whole different fight. He'd probably still lose. I'm not saying he's going to win, but it changes the tone of the fight. As soon as he got taken down, the fight was over. If he stayed on his feet, or at least was a little more competitive and got into his guard, or had some kind of jiu-jitsu sweep that turned his position around, anything like that, it would have changed the complexion of the fight, but it didn't. It was a learning experience. There were a lot of things as an amateur UFC Brazilian jiu-jitsu person who just watches a lot of fights and has friends who practice Brazilian jiu-jitsu. These are my small observations, and I'm sure a coach like Duke Rufus or anybody else that he goes to are going to have a fucking laundry list of things that he needs to improve on. But
he trained with the Gracies, didn't he?
He did. He trained with Henner and Hickson, I believe. And Henner is one of the younger ones. He's married to Eve.
Eve Torres, right?
Eve Torres Gracie. Yeah. And she's a fucking beast at Brazilian. Here's the thing. Anytime you are born into or marry into that Gracie family, you become a god at jiu-jitsu. She does, I believe they do a series on YouTube where she's doing self-defense for women Brazilian jiu-jitsu style. So like she'll have Henner come on and be like, okay, what if we're at a bar and he corners me in an alleyway or this or that, and they show different techniques to get out of it. As a female. So that's pretty good that, she's continuing to do other things and finding success outside of wrestling. Because I don't think was she Eve? I don't even remember. It's been so long. Was Eve any good wrestling?
She actually wasn't bad.
Okay.
She wasn't great, but she wasn't terrible either.
No, she could hold her own.
Okay. Well, that was good. I mean, and then now that makes
what
sense.
I don't want is, and it's happening a little bit in some ways, is that with Punk losing, people are just jumping on the whole, oh, it's because he's a wrestler. It has nothing to do with the fact that he was a wrestler. I don't want that. So, like, Punk was a wrestler. He's not a wrestler anymore, though. I don't want wrestling to be associated with it in that way.
But it's going to be, because wrestling made him a household name.
Yeah, but I also don't think it's fair to.
But I'm saying his loss has nothing to do with him being a wrestler.
Right.
No, I agree with that, but people are always going to.
That's why MMA guys are tougher than wrestlers, whatever that fucking argument. Listen, it doesn't matter. It's not about what you do as a profession. You can be a tough guy and not be a fighter, and you can be a fighter and be a pussy. It's just what you do as your profession. Because I know wrestlers that are just soft-spoken guys who wouldn't even, think to hit somebody in any sort of outside situation that's not professional wrestling. At the same time, I know guys that have shit popped off in the bar, they'd be the first ones I'd call because they could hold their own. It doesn't matter what you do, it's just, it's your personality.
Right.
Listen, I think Punk could definitely beat somebody in an MMA fight. Let's put it that way. He could beat somebody. They might just have to find that guy somewhere.
That bar is you're taking that bar real low.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what I mean is, he could compete at, like, I went to a mixed martial arts fight over the weekend, which was the equivalent of like going to an indie wrestling show, because it was in the gym where they train, and they had, fucking 50 chairs out, and there were 100 people there, and somebody bought pizza and Gatorade and were selling them for $2 a piece and shit. So it was, it was one of those things, but it was it was a way for people who had, like one of my friends who trained for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for like 3 years now. He wanted to compete in a grappling match, so he competed in a grappling match with somebody who was also having their first match. Or like there were boxing matches and Muay Thai kickboxing matches and what have you that day. It was like a 3-hour event for $20, and I mean that's where you start in MMA. It's the same thing as where you start in wrestling. There has to be a step one. Punk was lucky enough, in a sense, to debut in the grandest stage of them all. It's like, this is the equivalent of a wrestler debuting at WrestleMania. But it's also the equivalent of you debuting at WrestleMania and then fucking breaking your leg during the entrance. It's just, it was good, but it wasn't. So I think there's room for improvement. I just think he's got to figure out what level he's at, compete at that level for a little while and trying to improve himself, and then just hope he doesn't get too old, because he is 37. 37 is a tad
it's
old
getting up there in age.
I mean, it's a little old to be wrestling. Although I say that most of the champions, I mean, AJ Styles is 40, 41, whatever.
Yep.
So
it's just a little different in UFC, and you got like Gall was also like 10 plus years younger with much more experience.
Yeah, and I think at one point, I don't know if there were ever serious talks about it, but there was a lot of chatter about Jason David Frank, the former Green Ranger from the Power Rangers.
Right.
He wanted the fight. And
he had some, from what I saw, a good batch of matches under him.
Yeah, and he's done MMA fights before, and he's been training martial arts his whole life, and he was motivated to take the fight. And I think if you're going to have an exhibition like CM Punk, that is an exhibition fight. CM Punk at 37 years old is not challenging for a goddamn world title. Let's just get that right out there. So this is an exhibition. If it's going to be an exhibition, make it an exhibition all the way. Have CM Punk come out to Cult of Personality. Have this dude over here, Jason David Frank, come out to have Buckethead play the Power Rangers theme song. Did you know that? The Power Rangers theme song, the guitar in that was recorded by Buckethead? This is real life. You can go look it up.
I can't say that I even thought about that.
So, well, that's a thing, Buckethead the guitarist. But I mean, Jason David Frank coming out with a morpher in a green gi or some shit with the Power Rangers theme song blasting, and then you just have a fight, and then it doesn't matter who wins or loses, because neither of them are necessarily title contenders. And then Mickey Gall can have a real, not a real fight, but you know what I mean? He can have a fight against somebody more his age.
And a contender.
Yeah, and
do you think this sort of...
fun, but I think there, everybody has to acknowledge a certain place you plateau, and I think, he probably plateaued. He acknowledges that he can't reach the level of someone who's been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 12 years and they've got a black belt. It's just he's not there, and he knows he's only at a certain level. So if he can find that opponent that has the weaknesses that he can capitalize on, or he gets the experience and the training and waits 6-8 months and comes back and fights somebody at a lower level, it's very possible. I mean, he could win. He could.
Do you think the loss to CM Punk would have been very detrimental to Gall's career?
Depends on what happened. I mean, it could have been, but it could have. Here's.
It would depend on Punk's second fight, though. I'd say.
Right. Yeah. Well, the scenario is, a fluke knockout, not like a fluke, but if CM Punk just came out, they rang the bell, he went over and just punched him in the head and knocked him out, that's embarrassing. If you had a competitive 2 or 3 round match and he caught you with an arm bar or wrapped you up in something and made you tap out, or he went to a decision and he won via decision, I don't think there's any shame in that. But if it's a first round, if the situation was reversed and CM Punk won in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, that's a fucking career killer for Mickey Gall.
Makes sense.
That's the only way to look at it, because if the situation was reversed, Mickey Gall's career would be done. And then, but here's the thing: if Punk came out with more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience or more grappling experience and was able to wrap up, when he got taken down, if he was able to stuff it or counter it or on the ground counter it, it changes the tone of the fight. And then even then, if it's a more competitive fight and CM Punk ends up losing, but it's really competitive, then you go, oh, well, he lost, but it was competitive. So there are just little things that could have changed the complexion of that fight, but it was just, at the end of the day, Punk did not have the ground game experience that you would expect. Well, not that you would. There were no expectations because he came with 2 years of training, but for a UFC fighter, there is a certain level of grappling skill that you should have, and he just didn't display that.
Yeah, on Wrestling Reality, LeBar had a UFC expert, and he just tore into Punk.
Yeah, it's not good. Joe Rogan, if you watch that fight, he was doing commentary over and he says, well, CM Punk doesn't have much martial arts experience. I think he took some karate classes when he was 7, and like he's announcing this like a sportscaster would announce it. I'm like, Joe Rogan, just stop. You sound, he knows he sounds ridiculous, and he's doing it as a gag. Yeah. He goes, well, Punk comes in with some karate classes at 7 years old, and he's been training for 2 years at Rufus-Sport. I'm like, oh, Joe Rogan, you make it sound so much worse than it is, but it was bad.
It's just, I think the issue with, they tried to play up Punk like he had a chance, and
yeah. And listen, everybody, they sold everybody that he had a chance, or that he was an unknown who could come in with some good skills. And they sold me on it, because when I hear Henner Gracie and Hickson Gracie and Duke Rufus say somebody is ready to compete in the UFC, I expect something different. Yeah, I expect something different than what we received. Not to say that he can't improve, but again,
no,
the clock is ticking on everything. The clock would be ticking, like if right now he tried to come back, not even that you want to come back to WWE right now, but if you tried to make any kind of wrestling comeback, the clock's ticking.
Still would be ticking.
You're fucking 37, dude. You gotta, it's go time one way or another. So either he's gonna hunker down and fucking get 2 or 3 more UFC fights out of this thing and have another 3 or 4 years of UFC fighting, sure. Or is he gonna have to go back to Vince?
Kiss the ring.
I knew you'd be back.
I'm almost glad that Cody left now rather than a couple of years from now.
Cody will be back.
Cody's going to be a
but I think he'll be back.
Fucking superstar. I think he might be back. Listen, he's got a lot of things going on. He's going out to LA. He's already out there. When he was doing PWG Battle of Los Angeles, he was also out there speaking with agencies and doing auditions and such. And he judged a round of The Rock's YouTube show Rock the Promo, which I haven't watched yet, but he was wearing one of his very sharp suits and looks fantastically professional again.
I can't wait to see him on Arrow this coming fall.
And he's going to be on Arrow. He wants to
How was your impression of Cody in person?
Cody was awesome. Like, just a down-to-earth, really nice, cool dude.
Did you get to meet Brandy at all?
And he loves Stacy's brownies.
That's great.
So, yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, he's a good dude. But listen, guys, it's about 8 o'clock. So it's about time for Smackdown Live.
Yep.
So it's probably a good time to wrap it up.
Smackdown Live.
I want to see. I got to imagine AJ's going to kick it off. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to see that. All right. Well, Once again, this is the War Report brought to you by TagMeADate.com, the first and only dating site for wrestling fans. Sign up now at TagMeADate.com for free. And join a roster of over 25,000 singles wrestlers looking for their tag team partner. You can grab their championship cock ring all you want. Wait, nope, that's the alternate take. But anyway, you should sign up for tagmeadate.com. It is free. We will eventually charge money because it's going to be a service, and we're going to have a big boat that we run the site off of. But, right?
We're getting called a boat.
In the Cayman Islands.
Exactly. We're on a boat. We're going to have Lonely Island play with us. And go to tagmedate.com and sign up. Your first 30 days are free, etc., etc. You can look for the War Report on youtube.com, going to the search bar, typing in Tag Me a Date with no spaces. The words Tag Me a Date. Take out all the spaces, make it one word. You will get to our YouTube channel. You will see our archive of shows. You will also see our live and upcoming broadcasts. We broadcast every Tuesday night on Eastern Time. Remember, the time change is coming up. If you live in Arizona or overseas, you adjust your schedule accordingly. Thank you for tuning into the War Report. I'm your host, Vince Barry. On behalf of everybody from TagMeADate.com, we want to see you next week. Motherfucker.